we should return to our secret base and bake some more. Ta-da!
I'll take 10 lemon bars.
10, yes, sir. That's definitely the last of them.
You'll never stop him, you know.
Stop who?
The Great One, Cthulhu. He has risen, and soon all will be under his rule. It has all been foretold in the Necronomicon. Hail, Cthulhu! The darkness of the mythos is finally here. Oh man, these are really good lemon bars.
It was Rodriguez, the Portuguese, who climbed up the foot of the monolith and shouted of what he found. The rest followed him, and looked curiously at the immense cavern door with the now familiar squid dragon bas relief. It was, Johansen said, like a great barn door, and they all felt that it was a door because of the ornate lintel, threshold, and jambs around it, though they could not decide whether it lay flat like a trap door or slantwise like an outside cellar door. As Wilcox would have said, the geometry of the place was all wrong. One could not be sure that the sea and the ground were horizontal, hence the relative position of everything else seemed phantasmally variable. Bryden pushed at the stone in several places without result. Lindo Vane felt over it delicately around the edges, pressing each point separately as he went. He climbed interminably along the grotesque stone molding. That is, one would call climbing if the thing was not, after all, horizontal. And the men wondered how many doors in the universe could be so vast. Then, very softly and slowly, the acre great lintel began to give inward at the top, and they saw that it was balanced. Donovan slid or somehow propelled himself down or along the jamb and rejoined his fellows, and everyone watched the queer recession of the monstrously cavern portal. And this fantasy of prismatic distortion have moved anonymously with a diagonal way, so that all the rules of matter and perspective seemed upset. The aperture was black with a darkness almost material. That Trembonus was indeed a positive quality, for it obscured such parts of the inner wall as ought to have been revealed, and actually burst forth like smoke from the aeon-long imprisonment, visibly darkening the sun as it slunk away into the shrunken, ambiguous sky and flapping, membranous wings. The odor rising from the newly opened depths was intolerable, and at length the quick-eared Hawkins thought he heard a nasty, slopping sound down there. Everyone listened, and everyone was listening still when it lumbered slobberily into sight and gropingly squeezed its gelatinous green immensity to the back doorway into the tainted outside air of that poisoned city of madness. Poor Johansen's handwriting almost gave out when he wrote of this. Of the 6 men who never reached the ship, he thinks 2 perished of pure fright in that accursed instant. The thing cannot be described. There's no language for such abysm of shrieking and immoral lunacy. Such eldritch contradictions of all matter, force, and cosmic order. A mountain walked or stumbled. God, what wondered that across the earth a great architect went mad, and poor Wilcox ravened with fear in that telepathic instant. The thing of the idols, the green, sticky spawn of the stars, had awakened to claim its own. The stars were right again, and what an age-old cult had failed to do by design, a band of innocent sailors had done by accident. After vigilantians of years, great Cthulhu was loose again, and raving for delight. 3 men were swept up by the flabby claws before anyone turned. God rest them, if there be any rest in the universe. They were Donovan Guria, and Angstrom. Parker slipped as the other three were plunging frenziedly over endless vitas of green, crushed rock to the boat. And Johansson swears he was swallowed up by the angle of masonry which shouldn't have been there, an angle which was acute, but behaved as if it were obtuse. So only Bryden and Johansson reached the boat and pulled desperately for the alert, as the mountainous monstrosity flopped down the slimy stones and hesitated, floundering at the edge of the water. Steam had not yet been surfaced from down entirely, despite the temperature of the hands for the shore, and it was the work of only a few moments of feverish rushing up and down between wheels and engines to get the alert underway. Slowly, amidst the distorted horrors of that indescribable scene, she began to churn the lethal waters, while on the masonry of that carnal shore that was not of the earth, the Titan thing from the stars, slavered and gibbered like Polypheme cursing the fleeing ship of Odysseus. Then, bolder than the storied Cyclops, great Cthulhu slides greasily into the water, began to pursue with vast wave-rising strokes of cosmic potency. Bryden looked back and went mad, laughing shrilly, as he kept on laughing at intervals till death found him, one night in the cabin, while Johansson was wandering deliriously. But Johansson had not given out yet, knowing that the thing could surely overtake the alert until steam was fully up. He resolved on the desperate chance, and, setting the engine for full speed, ran lightning-like on deck and reversed the wheel. There was a mighty eddying and foaming in the noisome brine, and as the steam mounted higher and higher, the brave Norwegian drove his vessel head-on against the pursuing jelly which rose above the unclean froth like the stern of a demon galleon. The awful squid head, with withering feelers, came up nearly to the bowsprit of the sturdy yacht. But Johansson drove on relentlessly. There was a bursting as of an exploding bladder, a slushy nastiness as of cloven sunfish, a stench as of 1,000 open graves, and a sound that the chronicler could not put on paper. For an instant the ship was befouled by a rancid and blinding green cloud, and then there was only a venomous seething astern, where, God in heaven, the scattered plasticity of that nameless sky spawn was nebulously recumbing in its hateful original form, while its distant wideness every second as the alert gained impetus from its mountaining steam. That was all. After that, Johansson only brooded over the idol in the cabin, and attended to a few matters of food for himself and the laughing maniac by his side. He did not try to navigate after the first bold fight, but the reaction had taken something of his soul. Then came the storm of April 2nd, the gathering of the clouds about his consciousness. There is a sense of spectral whirling through the liquid gulfs of infinity, of dizzying rides through reeling universes on a comet's tail, and of a hysterical plunges from the pit to the moon, from the moon back again to the pit, all livened by a chanting chorus of the distorted, hilarious elder gods and the green, bat-winged mocking imps of Tartarus. Out of that dream came rescue. The Vigilant, the Vice Admiralty Court, the streets of Dunedin, the long voyage back home to the house by the Edgeburg. He could not tell. They would think him mad. He would write of what he knew before death came. But his wife must not guess. Death would be a boon, if only it could blot out the memories. That document I read, and now I have placed it in the tin box beside the bas relief in the papers of Professor Angell. With it shall go this record of mine, this test of my own sanity, wherein is pieced together, the which I hope may never be pieced together again. I have looked upon all that the universe has to hold of horror, and even the skies of spring and the flowers of summer must ever afterward be poison to me. But I do not think my life will be long. As my uncle went, as poor Johansen went, so I shall go. I know too much, and the cult still lives. Cthulhu still lives too, I suppose, again, in that chasm of stone which has shielded him since the sun was young. His accursed city is sunken once more, for the Vigilance sailed over the spot after the April storm. But his ministers on earth still bellow and prance and slay around idol capped monoliths in lonely places. He must have been trapped by the sinking while within the black abyss, or else the world would by now be screaming with fright and frenzy. Who knows the end? What has risen may sink, what has sunk may rise. Loathsomeness waits and dreams in the deep, and decay spread over the tottering cities of men. A time will come, but I must not and cannot think. Let me pray that, if I do not survive this manuscript, my executors may put caution before audacity, and see that this meets no other eye.
Hello everybody out there. This is the Tittle of the day, and today it is over Cthulhu, Dagon, and I guess beast from Revelation, you know, like, and giants and things like that. You saw that picture, okay, and I know some of you may have seen it before. I don't know if it's a hoax or photoshopped or what it is, or if it's real, but it looks pretty crazy. And you know, I searched the internet to see if I could find something where it says it is faked, but I mean, it's just a lot of people speculating if it's fake or not. They're like, well, it may look photoshopped, and or you know, it may not, or whatever, you know, but no one has come out and said like I did this, or you know, it was photoshopped, it was fake. So, and it looks crazy, and it does show kind of like a dark awakening that is happening, you know. And but what I thought was, when I saw it, it took me a little while to clue in, but then I remembered the South Park episode with Cthulhu, and then I remembered H.P. Lovecraft's The Call of Cthulhu, and it looks the same as that. So I thought, you know, all myth is usually based in a bit of reality, right? And we're going to see that this Cthulhu that H.P. Lovecraft wrote about is nothing more than him copying from the Bible of Dagon. Okay, that's what it is. And we're going to see that it's been around for a long time, and that the Bible speaks about it, and in the end times these things are coming back. The old ones, the Titans, that type of thing. Okay, so first I want to talk about the South Park little video that I showed there, where it's basically Illuminati prophecy. Okay, you know how they do, they can't tell prophecy, but they're what they want to happen, they kind of put it in their media. And we can see that about their false prophecies and what they try to do in Jeremiah 23:16. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, hearken not unto the words of the prophets that prophesy unto you. They make you vain. They speak a vision of their own heart. Okay, their vision is what of their own heart. They're on their television. Okay, is what they want to happen out of their own heart. And listen, this is what it doesn't come from, and not out of the mouth of the Lord. So it doesn't come out of the mouth of the Lord. Also, Matthew 24:11 says, and many false prophets shall rise and shall deceive many. Okay, so they're trying to deceive all of us with their Illuminati television and movies and music and all of that. Okay, false prophecy, false visions of what they want to happen. Sometimes they can make it happen, like 9/11 and things like that, but usually it falls through the cracks. But that's what they want to happen, is like Cthulhu, Dagon, like something like that coming back. Okay, and then I played that in H.P. Lovecraft. If you set through that, okay, that's the story of the Call of Cthulhu. And did you notice that he came out of the sea? Okay, and where do we see that? Revelations 13, 1, and I stood upon the sand of the sea, and I saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. Okay, so you see the beasts out of the sea, and also out of the bottomless pit. All right, and we can see that this is kind of what thought about with that H.P. Lovecraft thing, with it coming out of the sea and out of the bottomless pit. In the lore also of the Arab, they talk about the dragon in the Quran. It talks about the dragon and different things like that, the old serpent, and also the Lord of the Abyss. It talks about let me see, let me read this part. It's more talking about dagon, on how H.P. Lovecraft most likely got these stories for Cthulhu from Arab beliefs, and going back to the Philistine god Dagon. Okay, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But if we look in Revelations 9, 1 through 2, basically it says this.
Revelation 9. And the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit.
Okay, now did you notice in that H.P. Lovecraft, the Call of Cthulhu, it said that he's the scourge of the stars. Okay, isn't that interesting, right? And angels, fallen angels, are described as what? Stars in the Bible many times. Okay, so you see that kind of comparison there. Okay, so Dagon. Well, let's also look first at Isaiah 13. I'm going to play it first, 1 through 3 from the King James Bible, and then I want to talk about the Septuagint and how it says in the Septuagint.
Isaiah chapter 13. The burden of Babylon, which Isaiah the son of Amos did see.
Lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, exalt the voice unto them, shake the hand, that they may go into the gates of the nobles. I have commanded my sanctified ones. I have also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness.
Okay, so he's saying there's 3 different characteristics here that he's bringing on judgment to Babylon. And this, to me, is prophecy of the end times. He's having the sanctified ones come, consecrated ones, believers coming with Christ or the second coming to destroy the wicked and Satan, right? But also, at the same time, I have also called mighty ones for my anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. Okay, so those are also like the angels. Okay, but you notice that he said, I have also called my mighty ones. Now, if we look in the Septuagint, it says, I give command and I bring them. Giants are coming to fulfill my wrath, rejoicing at the same time, and insulting. Okay, so if you ever looked online and like YouTube, there's a lot of people who are having these visions of 3 days of darkness, where they see giants, you know, just standing still, and then all of a sudden going and destroying things. Okay, the Lord uses, you know, things like that. He uses heathen nations sometimes to pass judgment on ancient Israel. I mean, that's how he works a lot. So that's what when I was looking at this and researching it, I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense. Maybe this Cthulhu thing that we're seeing trying to come in, Dagon, is, you know, going to be used in that way by the Lord to pass judgment on the wicked. They worshipped it as a god in the Philistines, which we're fixing to see, but really it's just evil. Okay, it coming upon this earth. You notice how that Cthulhu was coming up upon to the earth, and everyone was frightened and fearful. In that story, it was talking about how they were dying just of fright and all that stuff, right? Now, what does that remind you of? Reminds me of Luke 21:26, men's heart failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken. Now, you hear that in that Call of Cthulhu, they were just afraid and almost dying, and some of them did. Their hearts failed because just looking at Cthulhu, right? And it's like he said, the powers of heaven shall be shaken, and that Cthulhu dagon is the scourge of the stars, right? Okay. So you see that also. That Knoxville, Tennessee cloud thing, Cthulhu, demon, CERN even could be having something to do with this. As it's ramping up this year, CERN is opening the gates, portals to other dimensions for these things to come back in, which we consider dimensions as, and the spiritual term as spiritual realms, and you know, places that the Lord didn't want us to peep into and to tamper with. That's why you always see wicked, ungodly men tampering with these different dimensions and spiritual realms, trying to get to them. But we as Christians, followers of Christ, know we're not supposed to do that. God warned us of it in Isaiah. Don't do that, okay? So, speaking of Dagon, Dagon was the fish god, half man, half fish. You see that picture of Cthulhu? That's what it almost looks like. A half sea creature and a half man, okay? Dagon was the chief deity of the Philistines, and they worshipped him, okay? And Dagon was supposedly the father of Baal. Okay, isn't that interesting? He's a titan. Okay, and Baal is like, you know, the like Zeus or something like that, the lesser of it. He was a fish god. Dag in Hebrew means fish. He was half man, half fish creature. Okay. Also, we're going to listen to Samuel. We're going to listen to 1 Samuel 5, but also Judges speaks about Dagon, and God doesn't like him because, I mean, of course, he told David and Joshua to wipe out the Philistines, right? Judges 16:23. Then the lords of the Philistines gathered them together to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon their god, and to rejoice, for they said, our God hath delivered Samson, our enemy, into our hands. Also, 1 Chronicles 10:10 says, and they put his armor, speaking of King Saul, they put his armor in the house of their gods, and fastened his head in the temple of Dagon. Okay. That picture that we saw, like the Knoxville, Tennessee thing, I put these scriptures with it. Revelation 16:14. For they are the spirits of devils working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth and the whole world, to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty. Okay, and that kind of goes back to Isaiah 13. Okay, Exodus 32:16 through 17. And the tables were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, graven upon the tablets. And when Joshua heard the noise of the people as they shouted, he said unto Moses, well, yeah, oh, there was noise in the camp, so it's noise of war, right? Okay, you hear those noise from that. CERN, okay, that's what I kind of put that with CERN, with the noise and they're trying to do. Okay, so let's see, Dagon, I talked about Dagon. So we see here also that God, it's nothing to be fearful of these things we're seeing, because you see that picture, that's scary, right? I mean, that's a big, huge thing, and it's frightening, but it's nothing to be afraid of, because we're going to see in 1 Samuel 5 that God humbles Dagon, because God is bigger than even that big thing we see, right? He created all of the universe, the Father, and when Jesus comes back, he's not coming back as the lamb slain, he's coming back as the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the Lion of Judah, right? He'll take all these type of things out, okay? Even if it's working for the Lord to pass some kind of judgment, you know, on the wicked, but Jesus is going to take every wicked thing out of the way. Even the wicked things that the Lord might be using to, the Father might be using to, you know, make His will come about on the wicked, all the evil and wicked will be wiped out by Jesus, right? Okay. Also, we can see Dagon. The story of Jonah has a lot to do with Dagon. That's one reason why Jonah didn't want to go there to Nineveh, because it was they were Assyrians. The Assyrians also worship this thing, and what's very interesting is it's a fish god, right? It's half man and half fish, and Jonah got swallowed by what? A gigantic fish or a whale. Jesus calls it a whale, and think about it. They are worshiping this fish god, half man, Dagon. When Jonah gets spit out, he can go now and preach to them and talk about the fish, and they'll relate to it. You know, okay, all right, you see that? All right. So let's listen to, so it's scary, those things, right? But we don't need to be fearing, because we'll listen to 1 Samuel 5 and see how God humbles Dagon, this Cthulhu thing.
1 Samuel chapter 5. And the Philistines took the ark of God and brought it from Ebenezer unto Ashdod. When the Philistines took the ark of God, they brought it into the house of Dagon and set it by Dagon. And when they of Ashdod arose early on the morrow, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the earth before the ark of the Lord.
See, even he just humbled, knocked it down before the Ark of the Covenant.
And they took Dagon and set him in his place again. And when they arose early on the morrow morning, behold, Dagon was fallen upon his face to the ground before the ark of the Lord.
Amen.
And the head of Dagon and both the palms of his hands were cut off upon the threshold. Only the stump of Dagon was left to him. Therefore neither the priests of Dagon, nor any that come into Dagon's house, tread on the threshold of Dagon in Ashdod unto this day. But the hand of the Lord was heavy upon them of Ashdod, and he destroyed them, and smote them with emerods, even Ashdod and the coasts thereof. And when the men of Ashdod saw that it was so, they said,
The ark of the God of Israel shall not abide with us, for his hand is sore upon us, and upon Dagon our God.
Amen.
They sent therefore and gathered all the lords of the Philistines unto them, and said,
What shall we do with the ark of the God of Israel?
See, they knew that the God of Israel, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and, you know, us, was so much stronger, you know, than this Dagon. Even if they had gone to the sea and experienced this Cthulhu thing in you know, there, they still knew, well, man, it's greater than that thing, you know. So we thought was a god. It ain't a god. It's a demon, you know. It's something else. And we know that this God of the Ark of the Covenant is much stronger.
And they answered,
Let the ark of the God of Israel be carried about unto Gath.
And they carried the ark of the God of Israel about thither. And it was so that after they had carried it about, the hand of the Lord was against the city with a very great destruction. And he smote the men of the city, both small and great, and they had emerods in their secret parts. Therefore they sent the ark of God to Ekron. And it came to pass, as the ark of God came to Ekron, that the Ekronites cried out, saying,
They have brought about the ark of the God of Israel to us, to slay us and our people.
They knew it had power.
So they sent and gathered together all the lords of the Philistines, and said,
Send away the ark of the God of Israel, and let it go again to his own place, that it slay us not and our people.
For there was a deadly destruction throughout all the city. The hand of God was very heavy there. And the men that died not were smitten with the emerods, and the cry of the city went up to heaven.
Okay, so you see that, like, it's interesting too that Dagon, Cthulhu, is the father of Baal. So Cthulhu couldn't even stand up to the Lord, to the Father, to Jesus. So what makes you think Baal could also, you know? So I think it's just very interesting that, like, that they were frightened of it, just of the ark. Okay, you know, I mean, I just think that's cool. It shows that, you know, God can humble anything or any person, you know, if he chooses to, because he's God the Father. Okay, so I hope y'all find that enjoyable. I hope y'all set through the Call of Cthulhu. I mean, it's kind of, you know, only reason I would play it is because you have to see and hear, like, about the abyss and all that other stuff and compare it to it. But alright, well, that's the tale of the day. If y'all know anything about the picture, if you've heard of the one from Knoxville, Tennessee, which I showed, if you've heard anything about it being real or fake, leave me comments and let me know, because I searched to see if I could find just if it was fake, but I haven't really found any proof that it's fake. Okay, so, okay. Alright, wake and watch for Yeshua. God is love, and I love God. Amen.